morning, beautiful people of God. It is so good to be here with you on this Thursday morning. If you're watching it live, or if you're not, then whenever you're with me, I'm glad to be here. Grace and peace to you from Jesus. I've been sitting with a story in Scripture for the last couple weeks. And I find that it just continues to unfold and astound me, really, at both the simplicity of it, the courage of the characters, and the long-term impact it has. It is the story of two Hebrew midwives. Their names are Shiprah and Puah. Not a lot of women are named in the Bible, in the scriptural text. Often there's men's names and then the women are just, included in like the phrase women and children or the family. So the fact that Shiprah and Puah are named in scripture tells us that they are important. They are midwives at the time when the Hebrew people are enslaved in Egypt under Pharaoh. And Pharaoh issues, unjust isn't even a strong enough word, an inhumane law that says all of the Hebrew baby boys that are born need to be killed at birth. And they're not supposed to the mothers are not supposed to be told that their babies were killed. They're just supposed to be told that the babies died. This is an act on Pharaoh's part to not just steal the future of the Hebrew people, but to make them believe that they don't have the ability to thrive. Oh, I'm getting a phone call, sorry. Power systems can do this systematically, right, to groups of people. Maybe not exactly the same kind of law that Pharaoh passed, but we see how people are systematically oppressed by structures of power. In our own nation, we can look at, for example, the practice of redlining. I was just hearing a story on the radio today about how redlining has left a legacy of segregated schools. So even as our nation becomes more and more diverse, our school system is less diverse than it used to be as far as who's in school with each other. So we have numerous schools in this nation that are 90% one race or ethnicity. Which is not representative of the nation as a whole, but is often representative of the neighborhoods or communities that people live in. And so we can see the effects decades later from a systematic form of injustice like redlining. There are so many other forms of systematic injustice that I could talk about. I'm sure that you can think of a few. And I find myself, when I'm faced with something like a systematic injustice, often feeling helpless. Like there's nothing I can do to make it better. Can you imagine what it must have been like for the Hebrew people to live under a regime of enslavement that was not only enslaving the people, but was continuing to undermine their opportunity for a future by having all of their baby boys killed? It's almost beyond fathoming. Well, enter Shiprah and Puah, these two midwives. They refuse to comply with the law. I read somewhere that it's the first recorded act of civil disobedience in history. I'm sure there were other acts of civil disobedience, but this one in particular is the first one that's written about. They just refuse. They let the boys live. And when they're called on it, why are all the babies born? Why aren't you killing them and then telling the moms that they died in birth? The midwives say these babies were just too healthy. They just came out so quickly. They were just too healthy. There was nothing we could do. Their mom would know that they were alive before we could enact this terrible law. On one hand, this is an extraordinary act of bravery and courage by these two women. Oh my goodness. They are standing up to the powers that have complete control over their lives. So it is amazing what they do. And on the other hand, when I look at it, I realize they are not plotting to take down Pharaoh. They are not figuring out how to right every wrong in their time. They are focused on the act that they can do, the single act that they can do, which is to protect the babies that are born in their care. What's so beautiful about this story? Well, in addition to the fact that these women are so courageous and take the action of justice when they are given the opportunity, where they can, but they end up saving the life of Moses. And it is Moses, of course, who will be called by God to set the people free from enslavement. But I don't know that these women know that. They're not doing this because they know it's going to bring down Pharaoh someday, or that their action is going to redeem their entire people. And in fact, if you think about it, they save Moses' life. By the time Moses is called upon to set the people free, it's decades later. They may not even be midwives anymore. They might not even be alive to see the fruit of their actions in its fullest. They have to trust, right, that what they're doing is what they're called to do, and that the next generation will pick up on the work that they've done, and that God is at work in all of it. And that maybe their job isn't to bring down Pharaoh. Their job is just to enact justice when and where they can. I find that this allows me to take a deep breath. And really, instead of even focusing on the injustices of the world, it allows me to start asking the question, what act of justice can I do today? It might even be such a small action that it doesn't feel like it's going to make any difference, but that's not my job. My job isn't to figure out how God's going to use my action to change the systematic oppression that's still around in our nation and our world today. My job is to ask, what is God calling me today to do? And then to do it. And Shiprah and Puah are standing out as these role models to me, inviting me to both this act of releasing, really releasing the bigger picture and trusting that into God's hands and into the people that will come after me, the next generations of people, and also inspiring me to recognize that I am not powerless, and that I can look at the circumstances of my own life and I can ask God, what do you want me to do today? So friends, this is what I invite you to. What is God calling you to do today? It might be an act that seems almost inconsequential. Of course, Shiprah and Puah's act was not inconsequential. For every life they saved, of course, that was just wonderful and beautiful. But it might not have felt like it made any difference in the bigger picture. And it did. So what is the small act of justice that God is calling you to today? Don't worry about whether it's going to have an impact in the bigger picture. Don't worry about if it's too small. Just say yes to that act that God is calling you to, and then trust the rest to God and the people who come after you. Friends, let's just take a deep breath together and breathe in the justice of God that is at work in ways we cannot even see or understand. And let's exhale our commitment to take an action of justice today, no matter how small. Well, friends, it is good to be with you. Let me know down below if you know the action of justice that you're going to take. What is it? What are you called to today? Drop it in the comments. I would love to see it and be able to read it. When I identify what mine is today, I'll put it in the comments. I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but I'm going to be asking that question and looking for it all day. So I will see you later. May you have a blessed day, and may you feel the presence of God with you.